Hello again. Now, with our Prime Minister's recent trip to Germany, trade with foreign countries is a bit of a topic that's abuzz. With that in mind, our episode of On the Table tonight will look at the future of Malaysia's trade with another foreign powerhouse. Mohana, over to you.
Thank you very much. Now, this year, 2024, marks the 50th anniversary of the Malaysia-China diplomatic relations. And over the past 15 years, China has been Malaysia's largest trading partner. On the table tonight, we speak to Mr. Eugene Roy Joseph, Vice President at the Malaysia-China Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Mr. Eugene, for being here today.
Thank you, Mohana, for inviting me for this program. Malaysian-China Chambers of Commerce, or better known as the acronym MCCC, has been founded in 1990. And it is an independent business association, multi-ethnic as well as for members to join. And basically, over the years, the chambers have really been promoting a lot of seminars and talk through the members for both countries, China and Malaysia. And we are currently based in Kuala Lumpur, and it has 9 state branches that allows members to interact among each other. And we have a lot of conferences held in China as well as in Malaysia that encourage such an interaction.
Okay, can I maybe get an understanding of how the Chamber supports its members in navigating the business landscape and fostering partnerships between business people of both countries?
Okay, so the chambers in the HQ in KL regularly receive delegates from China. So if there's any businessman from China or any government department from China would like to visit Malaysia to explore our business potential, they will always visit us first.
How regular is this?
Perhaps even once a week.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yeah. And also, we have also prepared an investment guide for the Chinese people, for them to understand Malaysian culture and investment opportunity.
What are some of the key industries or sectors where Malaysian and Chinese businesses are collaborating and showing significant growth?
I think what we can see, the trend on our chambers is that obviously automotive for electrical vehicle, strong interest there, and also storage digital, as well as even some solar opportunities.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And has that changed over the past few years? Like pre-COVID, was it the same industries that were being focused on, or has that changed?
I think it's slightly changed in terms of that EV is very strong. A lot of Malaysians will also know some of the major China brand is already here together, obviously, with Tesla as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when you say EV is strong, what kind of collaboration are we talking about? Is it just collaboration, or is it companies being set up here, factories being put up?
What we can notice is when we join some of the local logistics support system, the ecosystem, they have actually very open to appreciate that the manufacturing EV is coming, and they will support with all the auto parts as well.
And what about projects such as high-end tech transfer, technology transfer? You mentioned EV, so that's automotive. What about green technology? Is that also part of the focus area?
That's right. What we notice also a significant interest from the Chinese people to invest in Malaysian company. Solar, for example, is a hot topic in view of the ECG policies around the world. We can see that pick up on that basis.
Can you give me an idea why Malaysia?
I think
why are we in a strategic position, or do we have some kind of what are we doing that's correct and facilitating?
Okay, I think basically for foreigners investor, Malaysia, we do have a fair bit of human talent. Our engineers, for example, they are well adapted, multilingual, and they are really very hardworking. Of course, semiconductor is one of the well-known industry where it's a shining beacon for the rest of the world as well.
Yeah.
So those are the reason why, and of course, Chinese language. For them to, I think it's easier for them to understand our culture. Therefore, their employees are able to work together better.
Okay, so the talent being multilingual is also a big plus.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming English as well?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, recently, both governments implemented this visa-free policy So we now have a mutual visa-free policy for Malaysian and Chinese citizens. Can you perhaps tell me what are the trends that we are seeing just after this policy was implemented? And in terms of economic benefit, in terms of growth, what are we looking at?
Okay, I think definitely significant visitors from both sides of the countries. A lot of Malaysians are visiting China, and Chinese people are also visiting Malaysia. In any business, you start off with the human connection. Once a lot of interaction between the people, and we also notice the trend, a lot of airlines from China is opening route to here as well, vice versa. There is a very good start. When the businessman wants to come to invest in Malaysia, they normally will join us, visit the country to understand the culture before they considering investing in the country. So that is a very good step in the right direction.
But that's tourism, and then you said that the people connection is very important. Now, you did mention about the aviation sector, and I have a question about that because our transport minister recently announced that 2 new routes are going to be introduced. This would be Kota Kinabalu to Beijing and Penang to Xiamen. What kind of positive ripple effects can we expect to see?
So very good news, because any business will start with the interconnectivity on that basis. And we can see that even, for example, Sabah have also airlines route to China as well. And there's a lot of growth in that part as well.
Okay, but what happens after that? So once the routes are open and people start traveling?
So we're talking about in the context of RCEP and One Belt, One Road initiative.
Okay, can you explain a little bit?
Yes, so what happened is the interconnection and the integrity policies will come from all these route and airline being implemented. So that is a very good start in terms of moving of goods and services between the countries.
Okay.
They will be seamless as much as possible when all the rules and the policies are implemented between the both countries, of course, in the Asian region as well.
And how does that help with the local traders, Malaysian economy? How can our people benefit from this as well?
Okay, so even government, for example, any of the business being implemented, they always wanted to ensure there's a local context. There's always this interplay between having foreign technology coming in, the know-how of intellectual property, the sharing of it, and we also notice the knowledge sharing
between the foreigners and the locals.
So what we can notice also, their intellectual property filing from both countries have gone up in China as well as Malaysia. It shows, the data shows that both countries are investing in each other, and therefore the first spot is always filing intellectual property.
Okay, what happens after that? I think you are an expert on intellectual property, so maybe you can explain a little bit about how that works.
Okay, so the intellectual property work on the basis of territory and nature. So if you want your protection in the country of origin, you need to file patent, trademark, or copyright in that country.
I see.
So therefore, before you start the business, it's always prudent for the businessman to file for protection. And therefore, you can be very comfortably sharing your innovation, your know-how, even to a certain extent, trade secret, to a local set-up Malaysian company.
Without worrying that someone will be copying you and replicating the same
because
thing.
R&D protection is the most important.
Okay.
Because you put a lot of money and investment to ensure that your ideas and your innovation is protected. Therefore, with that protection in Malaysia, and Malaysia is also one of those countries that have a dedicated intellectual property court system that further support that protection for any foreign investor as well as local investor.
What do you mean by a dedicated court system?
Okay, so certain jurisdictions similar to Malaysia have what we call an IP court. So if there's any dispute on intellectual property, will be referred to this court. So therefore, it encourages speedier dispute resolution of IP. Therefore, all the relevant parties involved will be able to plan their business risk management accordingly.
I see. What else can the government do to give in terms of policy? Would there be some changes that you would recommend in terms of this intellectual property and trade secrets?
The government, including the judiciary, are very proactive actually. They are always coming out of ways to increase or improve the administrative of justice, for example, to review some of the court system, to facilitate encouragement of agreement as well as dispute, and the move towards mediation if there's any dispute.
Okay, and you feel that currently we have a very good environment for this?
Yes, of course, there's always room for improvement.
Okay.
So if that is what we are constantly doing. We are trying to see what ideas and policies could be refined, could we do better, so that it will encourage the business environment in the end.
How does the chambers play a role here?
The chambers are very active. We are basically have a lot of talks and seminars in China as well as in Malaysia. We have this annual event whereby we hold it 1 year in China, the next year is here, and there's significant interaction between us as well as the chambers in China as well.
What is this event?
It's the Malaysia-China Entrepreneur Conference.
Okay, and this is something that goes on every year?
Yes, every year.
And which is open to your members, I suppose?
Well, actually everybody.
Okay,
yes,
it's an open conference.
Yes, open conference, yeah. That's right.
Okay. Now, I have some statistics with me.
Sure.
The Malaysia-China bilateral trade had hit, in 2019, this is pre-COVID, had hit a record of 124 billion US dollars, or which is in ringgit, 503 billion ringgit. The latest stats from 2023 shows that bilateral trade between China and Malaysia reached 190.24 billion US dollars. That's a lot.
Yes.
So does it mean that, in your opinion, do you think we've bounced back? Are we bouncing back stronger? How is it looking after COVID?
Yeah, I think the outlook is good. But of course, I think it's cautious optimistic in terms of how we move forward.
Okay.
There's always more, as in not to rest on our laurels.
Yeah.
We can always improve on the policies and ideas, probably even think out of the box solution. How do we facilitate the movement of people, goods and services between both countries? That can always be relooked in the micromanagement level as well.
Okay. So looking ahead, what are the Chamber's priorities and goals for strengthening economic ties and collaboration in the coming years, say the next 5 years?
Okay, so we are very active, the Chambers, in facilitating all these business interaction between both countries. And we plan moving forward to have more delegates to China. And we plan to have a lot of knowledge sharing by having seminars and conferences even in Malaysia, dealing with the hot topic of artificial intelligence, innovation, the ecosystem, the green technology, ESG, and so on and so forth. So it's exciting times for us as well.
Okay, very nice. So you did say, I think we spoke earlier, that the Chambers hosts at least 2 business delegations to China every year, and you've mentioned that they're coming here almost every week. Which areas, new areas are we exploring? And are there new areas in China that Malaysia is looking at?
Okay, last year the Hainan port authorities came to have a conference here. We had one similarly there as well last year.
Okay.
And you can see that various sectors are interested to explore. Probably it's a wide area, depending on the individual and even government and province initiative over in China. So from there, because the Chambers in a unique situation to pick up the latest trend, so therefore we are always be able to use this information to disseminate to our members. Okay. So they have the first bite of the cherry to know the trend of what is happening in Malaysia and China.
Wow, looks like exciting times ahead. Mr. Roy, thank you so much for your time today and for giving us these insights on what the Chambers does, and looking forward to the better bilateral trade between Malaysia and China.
Thank you, Mana. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
And that's all the time we've got for On the Table this evening. We've been speaking to Mr. Eugene Roy Joseph, a Vice President at the Malaysia-China Chamber of Commerce. It's back to you.
Thank you, Mohana, and thank you, Eugene, for sharing those insights. And that wraps up this edition of Malaysia Tonight. Folks, I am Darryl Baptist with Mohana Priya from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a memorable weekend ahead. Good night.